Hey everyone, Sam Quinton with Sonoma Publishing right here in Frankfort, Kentucky. A few minutes ago, I saw a video by my friend Larry Patrick Higgins of Niobe Comics, and he was addressing some commentary that he saw on X/Twitter, and I thought it'd be a good idea to comment on this topic specifically. Larry brings up some amazing points. I want to weigh in from my perspective as well. Okay. And what we're talking about specifically is your pricing calculation on comics when you are crowdfunding them on Kickstarter. Now, this calculation that you're going to have to do if you're ever doing your own crowdfunding creations is going to be influenced by a number of factors. You have, first and foremost, the compensation for the workload. So, for example, in my instance, I can't really draw like at all. So I contract that out. Quality of the work is very important to me, so I do hire an editor to go over my scripts. That has a particular cost. And then, of course, coloring, lettering, I have done by fantastic professionals as well. So before we even get into the actual printing calculus, we've got to look at the production cost of the work itself. Okay? Because that does have some costs. Now, specifically, the people I hire, whether they're in the United States or outside the United States, we have the same budget cap on interior pages. Okay? So, just to put this out there without disclosing anyone's page rates, we're currently completing interior pages on a budget of about $250 per page. And that's for line art, colors, lettering. Okay, that excludes editing, doesn't count anything for printing. And there is some variance in that depending upon the artist in question. Some artists may need to charge higher. That obviously affects our costs. And whether or not we can work with that artist, to be perfectly blunt. Um, with that, at $250 a page, right? 24 interior pages is a production cost of $6,000. And then, of course, 28, 7,000, and so on. So a 40-page book for Sonoma Publishing for a comic, just the interiors alone are, you're looking at a $10,000 production budget, plus editing, plus printing, plus covers. And our cover budget may be anywhere from $500 to $1,500 for all the covers that are done, just depending on the artists that are selected. So our typical book is 28 pages. So for ease of our calculus here, we'll say $8,000 for total production costs, and that's just again the art, the lettering, covers, stuff like that. Doesn't include printing. So that's an outlay that we normally have a significant portion of that prepaid into the production flow, because we make money selling comics and role playing game books, and we take and reinvest that money into the next project. And so we may have of that $8,000, we may have 3 or 4,000 or maybe even more already invested into a particular project when we bring it to Kickstarter. Okay? And so we're looking at funding that remaining costs. And then, of course, at least a portion of the print costs. And, of course, there's an allocation for all the shipping. Now, I realize that sounds a little odd. So bear with me. And, again, this is just how we operate. And we are working to grow and evolve as time goes on, certainly. But we operate from a very active cash flow. We're always selling books and art prints, in our convention appearances, through online sales, all that kind of thing. um, and through our supporting stores directly, of course. But the thing to keep in mind is that we, as a business, do have to have cash coming in greater than the cash that's going out. So if we don't, then we run out of money, everything stops, no one gets paid, company burns to the ground. Just that simple. So when we set our Kickstarter goal, we know what we need to raise based on what our total production cycle still has left in it, what our print cycle has left in it, what our available cash that we're still putting into the projects going into it. And that's how we determine our overall goals. And that's going to affect what our price point is on our Kickstarter campaigns. Now, would I like to be able to offer comics on Kickstarter at $5? Yes. I would like to be able to do that. But with current print prices, the costs I have to pay our people, we would need a few thousand backers to make that happen. And thus far, we haven't had any campaigns that have actually crossed 300 backers in total. So people will say, well, why is that? Well, it's really very simple. I can get our typical large press run, say, with the current print costs, if I wanted to print and have a print cost per unit at, say, 80 cents a book, I'm going to have to print probably around 7,000 copies. Now that necessitates space, which, I use in my little home office in my apartment. That's a lot of books to cram into that little bit of space. It's going to necessitate being able to pull from that print run the amount of money necessary to fund the production costs and go forward with that. So if I were printing 7,000 books at $5,600 or whatever it was, and I've got $8,000 in production costs, then that's $13,000 to recover. And at $5 a book, just to break even at that point, you really need at least 3,000 backers. Okay? And that's accounting for like the Kickstarter or whatever crowdfunding platform you're using, that fee, so that you can get to it. And again, this is really just to break even and have a little bit of books left over. That's not paying, for me, that's not paying me as the writer. That's not paying me for hours upon hours of shipping, marketing, all the work on the crowdfunding campaigns, nothing. That's literally just breaking it even. For me, like I said, I'm working very hard to build Sinopa as something I can leave for my children. So I don't live off the revenue from Sinopa. I don't. I have a day job like everybody else. But the progress in building that catalog and getting more books out generates more money to make it a little easier to make the next book, generally speaking. So what is the reality then? Well, the reality then is if I'm going to print more like 3,000 to 5,000 copies, which is usually where I like to be printing at, then we're looking more about $1.10 per book, but we're looking at, again, $3,300 to $5,500 in print costs, right? And so with that and our art costs, we have to have enough room on there to be able to facilitate that, to where there's enough money coming in after the Kickstarter fees that we're able to make sure that we're recouping the money that we've put in, that we are able to pay the rest of the costs we have outstanding for the rest of the art that's being done, pay the printer, have the money that we come in from the shipping fees that are added on to cover the cost of like the Gemini mailers, the bags and the boards, the tape, the mailing labels, all that. You know, there's a cost. There's a little cost on everything, and those nickels and dimes add up pretty quickly, especially with the U.S. Postal Service increasing rates every few months. So, why do Kickstarter campaign comics usually come in around 10, 15 or more? That's why. Especially if it's being produced by someone who's not doing the art themselves. Now, you will see some people who are the artists themselves who are able to bring in the cost much lower, or people who have been able to bring in the cost lower because their preceding campaigns have really funded all or most of the actual book that's they're campaigning for at the time. And you'll see sometimes in those prices around $8, $9, $10 still, because there's print costs to consider as well. So if you are printing from, say for example, Comics Wellspring, and you're paying a couple of dollars per book for a small press run, or if you're printing through Mix'em and you're printing a couple of thousand, and you're paying like a dollar something, but you're having a whole inventory that's coming with it, those costs are a very real determining factor in what it's going to take to price it. Would I like to be able to put a book on Kickstarter at $5? Yeah. What would that mean for my Kickstarter goal? Well, probably $20,000, $25,000 in goals, if not more, just between the production costs, print costs, shipping. Anything else, you're carving out the money from your own wallet beyond what you've already put out. And crowdfunding is there to help you, me, and other creators create their product, their aspiration, make their dream real through financial support, not drive you into poverty, not inflict financial damage upon you. So, as someone who's been crowdfunding since 2017, and this is being recorded in June of 2024, I can tell you that if you're not careful, it can be very easy to, take a financial hit on your own crowdfunding campaigns. Ladies and gentlemen, always check your math. Always check your postage rates, your shipping costs. Don't forget to include things like tape and packaging materials in your calculus. Don't forget to calculate the platform fees. Don't forget that you're going to spend sometimes hours, if not days, packaging, hundreds, literally hundreds of books to go out. Be mindful of that, and don't hurt yourself. The crowdfunding mechanism is wonderful, for me particularly. And as we are releasing material, our first book through direct distribution, through previews under Anarch Press, we continue, myself, Sonopa Publishing, we continue to adhere to the adage that we're not reprinting comics from our covers from our floppies from a crowdfunding, and the reason being is that we want to preserve that little extra special potential collectible value for our backers. I think that's a great way to do it. But then when you get to the direct market having to pay for a whole new cover, well, that's a risk. But it's one I'm going to take. So, thank you so much for checking out this video. It ran a little longer than I would have liked. As always, please like and subscribe. Comment below. Let me know what you think. If you haven't read the works from Niobe Comics, my friend Larry, Niobe Outbreak, fantastic. Niobe Birthright, That's where I got started. Really great book. Definitely check that out. And of course, check out our fine stuff: 47 Furious Tales, Reign of Ages, Necroholic by Brian Lee, Tibia Time Traveling Psychedelic Mushrooms, The Tarot Adventures, Open Game License 5e D&D books, and so many more, with so much more to come. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just the beginning. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.